attention to what Vermont did during the pandemic. And so I've been obviously looking at Localvore and all the good work you guys have doing. So I really appreciate, Dan, that you're willing to talk to us about all the good things you're doing and just letting us kick the tires and learn more. So I'm going to let you take it away, and then we'll open it up to questions after your presentation. And I've made you co-host, so if you have a presentation, go for it. If not, that's good too.
I do. Yeah, I actually have a couple. And yeah, I mean, this is what it's all about, right? Just sharing the information that's been successful here in Vermont, how our partnership works, and with the Vermont Everyone Eats program. And, you know, it's just I'll get to why I'm excited to be here later, because, you know, what I want to do is just bring everyone up to speed with how we got here. So I'm going to start with, you know, what we were presenting before the pandemic, you know, as our business. So let me just share my screen here for a second. Let's see. Desktop. Let's do that. Open system preferences. Oh no. Uh-oh. One part doesn't get shared at a time. I don't know why it's not letting me share my screen. Okay, well, you know, maybe in the background,
because the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
Can we
So
enable that?
Yeah. So Dan, you're a co-host, so you should be able to. Thanks, Barbara, though, for trying to troubleshoot with us.
Dan, you might have to enable first.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. Can you make Michael a participant?
Sure.
Okay, give me 10 seconds and I'm just going to get him the first presentation. And while he's setting that up, I apologize. It's probably because I need to update Zoom or something like that. So the company started over 10 years ago. You know, I'm originally from Evanston, Illinois. So for my Illinois and Wisconsin people out there, I'm from Illinois, and I went to the University of Wisconsin in Madison. I found myself at Groupon. If you want to go back up, Michael, to the first screen. So in 2010, I was at Groupon, and I felt like that company and kind of the whole industry of consumer technology, you know, mainly coming out of Silicon Valley, wasn't really purposely set up to strengthen local economies, strengthen our food systems. So that's the original idea, was build a technology platform and brand and company that's meant to serve thriving local economies. Next slide. You know, the market I sold into was Youngstown, Ohio. Right? And this is what Youngstown looked like in 1956. Completely different place. You know, the big problem, if you go to the next slide, Michael, is local businesses are dealing with just an incredible amount of noise when it comes from the consumer tech world. And so, you know, we built a platform and evolved it over the years. You know, we launched our first platform in 2012. We pivoted and built a platform just before the pandemic, which is the app Localvore Passport. And the first component of it is what looks like social media, right? It's a social feed where you can connect with content that either consumers or local merchants can post. It's not for, you know, NBA highlights or, you know, things that are on mass social media. It's designed to be for local restaurants and food systems. so that they can connect in a modern way with consumers, right? The second piece of the app is, our subscription service, right? And it's actually a consumer subscription service. So we monetize the consumer side through a membership model, similar to how a lot of nonprofits work, right? You build a community of members that are willing to pay to get exclusive rewards and offers that also support the mission of Localvore, which is now, mainly around using local food systems to solve for food security, which we'll get to that part of the story after this. So the final feature is kind of a directory, where you can be geolocated. There's reviews. There's a way to, be in touch and locate these businesses, right? So it's a multifaceted platform. We launched it in 2018 at the end of the year. We had, a couple thousand subscribers in 2019 in Vermont and Minnesota. And then the pandemic hit. So if you give me 1 second, I'm going to Slack Michael the other presentation. And so we had launched this platform. We had hundreds of businesses on it. We had thousands of people subscribed. The model was working well. And then the shutdown happened. And there was a digital voucher system and, about $500,000 of software development that we had already put into this, on top of the almost decade of experience we had to evolve to this type of platform. And the state created a really unique and special program here that pays restaurants $10 a meal, mandates a certain percentage of that meal to be from local farms and producers. And, it allows people who've been impacted by the pandemic, who are experiencing food insecurity, to get a takeout order through our app and partnership with the Vermont Everyone Eats program. So the program started, and in about August of 2020, some of the restaurants allowed the nonprofit that is administrating the program. They said, hey, we should use Localvore, right? They've got this app. And so this is kind of how, that same platform that I just showed you, we created a way for people to log in based on the criteria of the program. And, so actually, oh, wow. Okay. So, the only thing that changed, that was this little icon you see where we changed the rewards part of the app, and we turned it into Everyone Eats meals. And so we kind of manipulated our app to fit within the guidelines of the program and gave people a way to experience receiving a meal that in a dignified way, where they're simply placing a takeout order and redeeming through our voucher system at these restaurants. So, the unique thing about it is it's a complementary technology to the nonprofit work that's been going on with the Vermont Everyone Eats program as well. So Vermont Everyone Eats is run by an organization called Southeastern Vermont Community Action. They're a part of the National Community Action Agency Network. And they receive funding through the Agency of Commerce and Community Development at the state, most of which has been reimbursements from FEMA for federal emergency disaster relief funding. SEVCA contracts Localvore and gives us about $500,000 a month of meal budget. And so we keep the money in our account, and every week we process $125,000 of payments to over 100 restaurants all over the state in the most rural communities and in the urban centers. And we have over 25,000 users of the app that have signed up, self-identified that they're experiencing food insecurity. And then they can log in and they see this view of the app. The app shows them where the meals are, what they are, how to order them, any special instructions. And it's allowed them to really have a convenient and easy way to get a prepared and nutritious meal. So we've seen over 1.5 million meals redeemed through the app in the past 2.5 years. And we've processed on behalf of the program over $15 million of payments to these businesses. So when you hear Vermont Everyone Eats as a program, we like to call the 3 pillars, solving for food security issues, economic development, which is paying small businesses that are restaurants to make these meals because they're perfectly situated, and local agriculture. So the mandate allows for this to happen in a way where we have hundreds of farms and producers. We can now go back and show impact holistically through the supply chain. The question about adding delivery to this for people who are less mobile, yes, absolutely. The way we've done that is actually through partnerships with things like Meals on Wheels, right? Where, adding delivery would be typically an expense to a program because you need someone to drive. We have a lot of people who are picking up meals for their elderly parents, or their someone who doesn't have a smartphone. We set up people to use the app in a volunteer standpoint. Could there be some future integration with DoorDash? Potentially, right? But that would be a much bigger picture thing, probably. What was the percentage of local farms required to be used, and how is that checked? So the mandate is 10%, and we're averaging more like 30 to 35%. If you look at it on a whole annual basis, it goes up in the summer, right? Because we're in New England. It comes a little bit down in the winter, but it's mostly like 30 to 35%. And the way we check that is every Monday we send out an invoice form. And yes, DoorDash is not local. I agree with you, Barbara. So the invoices go out, and the one thing the restaurant has to do is tell us the cost of the local ingredients and what the ingredients were. So, if you can imagine living in Vermont, we see a lot of Cabot cheese and a lot of King Arthur flour, right? But you also see small farms, and we've had small farms, showcase how much this program meant to their business, especially during the pandemic when supply chains were really shut down. Hope that answers that question.
And Dan, if I may,
Go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
This was a temporary program. This was a 3-month temporary program that's now in its 33rd month. So we stood it up as quickly as we could and got it going, and then it just continued on and continued on. We've iterated in many aspects to make it as smooth as possible for the merchants, for the users, but again, it was very temporary, and it wasn't meant to be permanent. In the past few months, while we think about what's on the horizon, we have more permanent ideas about how this could come into a local economy's infrastructure, and that's what we're planning on. That's what we're working on now.
And no, we didn't find any of the requirements restrictive for people on the restaurant side or the consumer side. And yes, it is active currently. There's an end date to the program officially now of March 31st. It's mainly because the emergency funding is ending on May 11th, and we're actively working with the SEVCA leadership. There's a statewide task force for Vermont Everyone Eats that I'm on, along with, representing Team Localvore, along with FEMA representatives, the food bank president, and other like the Department of Human Services. And we're all actively trying to figure out the future of the program because it's been so successful. There's a big effort to keep it going so that we can create a long-term sustainable program.
And it's state funded, but FEMA reimbursed. FEMA reimbursement was at 100% for a very long time. It's gone down to 90% in the past couple months, and I believe it's that emergency declaration ends in May, I believe, from President Biden.
Do you guys know of any other states who have taken this approach? I mean, I live in New England, so I definitely paid attention to this and felt like it was incredibly unique. But have you heard of other states that took on this at this level and this much of an impact?
No, honestly, and we've tried to find that because we've been wanting to offer, our services to a program like that. And Minnesota has one called Minnesota Central Kitchen, but it's completely driven through philanthropy. So the meals are only $4 or $4.50. It's not a $10 meal that's getting the restaurant closer to some type of margin. I think the secret sauce that Vermont had that we're just lucky that we had as a result is that the different departments talked to each other, right? A lot of times in state or federal governments, is this a food insecurity program? Okay, well, we have to bucket you over here. Or is this an economic development program? And to this day, there's kind of this nature to want to silo it into one or the other. And the reality is it's both. So if you can get your state's Department of Human Services and your state's Department of Commerce to sit down and have a conversation about this, I think that's the best chance for another state to be able to have a program like this. And, frankly, Bernie Sanders and Becca Balint, our new congresswoman, they're going to try to do this at a federal level because, USDA and FEMA are doing things in separate buckets, right? And they need to be doing things in the same bucket because it's sometimes the same exact supply chain. So we can maximize our dollars if we start using them together and stop siloing them into one thing or the other from a government standpoint. And, Localvore is a cost efficiency for the program. Each meal has about a $2.50 administrative fee on top of the $10. We're at scale. We don't have to charge as much per meal. We're more like 10%. So we're kind of like a $11 meal in a sense, which helps the program stretch the budget, bring in more complementary nonprofit partners. We were specifically brought on because some parts of the state didn't have local nonprofits that were creating distribution events offline. And so they wanted the statewide digital voucher app because we can serve anyone anywhere, right? If your rural community doesn't have a hub nonprofit doing distribution events, you can be on the Localvore app and participate in the program equitably.
Well, I just want to open it up since we've become a very small group. So if anybody has any questions, I know there's some questions in the app that haven't been addressed, but just feel free to chime up if you have other questions that haven't been answered.
Hi, this is Jen from Spokane, Washington, Simba. I put this question in the chat, but I'll just ask it. So we have a local dollars program that we've been able to create, and we are looking at more than just the restaurant industry. So would this app be applicable to other industries, other services and goods that could be sold, not just food?
Yes, we've always had other retail businesses, health and wellness businesses, any local retail merchant, we can work with. We got kind of focused on restaurants just because we've been dedicated to the Everyone Eats program so much. But if you looked at our history, the past 10 years, we've worked with a lot of unique businesses, design and build schools. I don't know what else. There's a lot. Yeah. We've never had a cat cafe, but I want to get.
Oh, no. We had kitty corner down in Barry, Montpelier for a little, Barry, Vermont for a little while. They were,
Okay.
we're
stand
still
corrected.
in,
We have
we're
had a
still
cat
in talks. We're still in talks with the cat cafe.
Dayton Buy Local in Madison works with local farmers. And I hear a lot of city people on here who don't even believe farmers exist, but trust me, they do. And I'm thinking that's a big hole in your thinking. You're way down the food chain, right? So here in Wisconsin, there is a, sorry about that. There's a local program where the state gives the elderly vouchers for use in mostly, I think they're farmers markets, and the farmers market has to be qualified, right? So if you guys have something like that, I would go there immediately and see if you can't get those into it. Again, it will be federal funds, and it's very hard sometimes to use them in areas because the elderly are not mobile enough to get to the farmers markets. Hence, I added the delivery. Colorado, Boulder, some of their CSAs, if you guys don't know, they're people who deliver fruits and vegetables directly to your home from the farm, right, over the summer. They actually have a local delivery service of kids, not the damn DoorDash crap, but even kids on bicycles, right, that are doing this. It is awesome. So I think we don't think big enough when we think about this. We tend to think about stuff that's very modern, very city oriented.
Yeah.
And we need to get a lot broader.
I agree. And that's, one of the reasons I started the company with Michael in Vermont is because I was in Chicago and all we thought about was deals and money. And that's not what Vermont's about. So we'll definitely want to look into that Wisconsin opportunity. And the thing about the kids, I mean, that is so smart, because guess what kids know how to do? Use a mobile app. And a lot of seniors don't. I will say a lot of seniors do too. And I think this program has surprised us about how many 60-plus-year-olds have iPhones, know how to use them, and are not having a problem redeeming for meals. So, but you have to serve the most vulnerable populations typically, right, with these types of programs. So having some, kids with bikes volunteer, a 16-year-old who just got his license, that's a great thing for a young person to be a part of, I feel like.
And Mariah, you had a first question that might have been missed, just kind of alluding to that whole criteria. Do you want to go ahead and ask that?
Yeah, I was just wondering how you, if there actually was a criteria for users to meet to be able to redeem the free meals, and then what that criteria was and how it was checked.
Yeah, so because this was emergency relief, the state came up with some language. And if you go to the website, everyoneeatsvt.com, you can see the web form that is the sign up form. And it is extremely light with low barriers to entry. You literally check a box. Okay. So we're not going to sit here and tell you that every single person using this app has been the most vulnerable person. But the majority of people who are using it, you know, seem to be, you know, in need of some assistance, right? Now,
and that,
for
that
us,
language, and
for
that,
us-
and those
for us-
criteria are just from the program too.
yeah, what I was going to say is that if we needed to create any extra fields for a specific program, like for example, if we said these people must be 60 plus years old, or they must have this eligibility requirement, from our point of view, that's just a simple addition to that web form. And we will require it before we give them a login, username, and password to the app that they can start using. Otherwise, they don't get it, right? So for us, it's very like, you know, we're happy to serve a program or a nonprofit, you know, however they.
Suppose my Republican state legislature ask, as they will, verify that that these people who say they're 65 and on Medicare and therefore eligible aren't lying about it. How would we deal with that?
We
Most likely we'd get an approved list from a state or organization, and
Right.
then check it against that list. Those are the things that we're looking at for other programs. You know, the other programs have, these are the people on SNAP benefits. Here's our approval list, and then what we can match them to that list and approve them that way.
And you guys, that's the one thing that impressed me the most is the number of reputable nonprofits that you were working with in Vermont. That was kind of an aha moment for me, because, you know, there's lots of great apps out there doing, you know, good work, but the fact that you are so connected to, I mean, if you're not in Vermont or you're near Vermont, you wouldn't know, like, wow, you've worked with SEDCA and Vital Communities and
Right.
lots of different organizations. So I felt like this is the first time where I heard about a piece of technology actually working with these backbone organizations who are already, like, before COVID, they were already working to help with food access and making sure that farmers and CSAs were a part of this. That's what really impressed me. So I don't know how much you were all involved in that 10% of local food in every meal, or if that was kind of more the local organizations.
We were the local organizations that created that mandate with the legislature. You know, they're really the ones that deserve the credit for that. We are a for-profit small business with a technology platform that happened to be a really good fit to enhance the model of the program. And so, you know, I think that's exciting for us because we never saw this as a potential part of our business. It's incredibly meaningful. It was our mission, right, from the beginning, to strengthen local communities. And, you know, the first campaign we ever did was in support of hunger-free Vermont. So we've always been focusing on alleviating hunger. And now what we're trying to do, you know, moving forward is build consumer and business memberships, right, that also enhance the other part of the local economy, but set us up in other states or communities so that if we have a program opportunity together in a collaborative way, we're already there, right? That was the big reason, you know, we got this opportunity, is because we had already worked with hundreds of restaurants, and the folks at the Skinny Pancake, you know, if you're familiar, they helped create this program. So when they got the program up and running, they said, we should call Localvore. So it was really just a cool, right place, right time, and having good relationships with the restaurant community and being
as
ready
a
to
consumer,
respond.
I'm going to add something that I think is critical if I'm going to pay you as a consumer for this, right? I
Sure.
don't want discounts. In fact, I find them offensive, to be brutally honest. It's
Fair
called
enough.
bribery and other forms. But what I'm starting to travel a lot again, and trying to find local food. We used to pull off the interstate because, of course, none of the local foods are on the signs as to where there's a good local restaurant, right? And we would literally drive through downtown looking for food places where lots of local cars were parked. But it was at random whether I got off at this small town or the next small town often. And so I'm thinking that I would pay for a national register of buy local and amoeba food businesses.
I appreciate that.
And we could get that up and running fairly quickly. The business could pay a small fee, the users could pay a small fee, and
Yep.
and we know they were replicable because buy local had and amoeba had checked them out, and they weren't domain poisoning folks.
I love that.
Oh,
We
we're
can even
totally
have
into that.
we can even have the amoeba logo on the profile of the business so that they know that's an amoeba approved business.
Yeah, we love that. I love that. Pre-internet, I used to walk down the coffee shop every day, and there were 3 or 4 tourists that would approach me because I looked like a local and ask me where to get breakfast. When the internet came about, I built a restaurant directory. This is pre-Yelp. So this is really near and dear to my heart. And then, through the course of things, when Dan and I built this latest version of it, is based on a directory system that is scalable nationwide. And we want to get there.
Talk to the Madison buy local folks.
Absolutely.
Dane by local.
Dane buy local.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. Totally.
Tell them a local sent them, and you should look at both the work they're doing with local farmers.
Yeah, the Soups On program is really awesome. What you guys have been doing. So
I'll
I
tell 'em
felt
a
like
local-
that was a cool connection.
I'll tell them a local sent me, and a Badger is calling, right? That's a 2004.
Yes, I'm a Badger as well. So you could, and I don't know
I'm
if you know,
Wisconsin.
but it was actually started by a UW group who was
Awesome.
looking at local economies and felt the buy local was the way to go.
Yep.
So it's definitely a model.
That gets me excited because I love Madison. My grandma grew up there. So we'll be on that.
Nice. And Peter had a question. Have you had any contact with Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources? They run food security infrastructure grant program, coupons for seniors, and SNAP eligible residents.
We have not, and we would love to share our story and connect them with Sevka and the program managers too. That's we're very collaborative with Sevka. We're on a task force call every Monday, and we're on a statewide hub meeting every single Thursday. So, they're the program, we're the service provider, but we're almost the same. It's sometimes a little, we're all trying to get the same mission accomplished.
Awesome.
I have a question about the app and the way it works outside of the food assistance program.
Sure.
Kind of regular, is the goal to have 100% like comprehensive directory, and then some offers are contained, or do people only contribute, are people only listed with offers, and how is it monetized on the business end?
No, really, the entryway is the directory and social feed, right? So, frankly, when Barbara spoke up about how deals are offensive, like they can be very offensive, right? And we're trying to build out a directory and give a free social profile with this kind of amoeba Localvore mission, right? So not everyone can get one, but if you're qualified, you can get one. And then you can use that as a, you know, an alternative or to an Instagram or a Yelp profile, right? And then if you want to give a reward, you can. It's not a requirement, right? If you want to reward local people who are members, you know, the membership is about also supporting the nonprofit. So we donated 50% of our membership fees to Sevka for the Vermont Everyone Eats program, right? So the rewards don't have to be just about discounting and driving new traffic. You know, it can be about, hey, this person's come in, you know, they're supporting this program, they're supporting this community. But it's not a requirement. And we're, you know, we have some ideas about how to monetize the business side of the marketplace. The app as it's set up right now just monetizes the consumer side through that membership model for rewards. The, you know, in an ideal, what's that?
What's the consumer cost?
It's $10 a month or it's $60 a year.
You know, I'm going to say something from another group that I belong to, that after a tremendous amount of lobbying, we've actually gone to three levels of membership fees. And the reason being that that part of the membership fees were going to exactly what you're talking about, you know, supporting this or that. And that meant we had a woman on our website who called herself Granny, who was just a poor old rural woman. And she literally said she couldn't afford it. And especially, you know, taking my membership fees and you deciding where to contribute this may or may not be a turnoff for people. So I think you have bare minimum of 2 membership levels of, you know, just a user and then a contributor.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, do you have any questions? I don't think I've heard from you yet, not to put you on the spot, but just if you have any questions.
I couldn't figure out how to unmute for that whole time. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I've just been enjoying the conversation. I don't know if we have anything similar to the technology that you have here in our area. We're more rural in Iowa, but I'm just enjoying hearing how it works and where it's going, as well as the insights people are offering. So thank you for letting me be part of the call.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
We had a couple Illinois Extension folks on. Could we hear from them about their programs and what they think?
That'd be awesome.
We in a lot of different programs, so I'll save the time on that. I did have a question about delivery. So we're so rural that and to me it's like there's a whole rural market for delivery that's not Uber's not using, Uber Eats isn't using, all these companies are not taking advantage of that. And so you had mentioned something about it. I was just wondering if you could expand on it or you had any ideas.
Yeah, I mean, technology wise, it's not like a crazy challenging thing to create. The question is, how do you compensate the driver? And that could be possible through stipends, through a program that we're running. You know, you'd have to carve that into a budget and then pay that driver. And you know, we'd love to figure that out. You know, that's a thing that would help in every state, right? If you go down to Southern Vermont, it's the same as it is in Southern Illinois, right? So
Right now with this program, there are, we have about 20 to 25, deputized volunteers that are using the app in a different way. There's limits to how many meals you can get. So we raise those limits for those volunteers. They could pick up 10 or 15 meals at a time, work it out with the restaurant beforehand, so it's not a burden, and then drive those meals out to their, the people that they're helping. But it's a one-on-one basis, and we've been doing it piecemeal. I'd love to be able to systemize this and put it, out at a wider scale, but this is what we're doing for the program now.
It's definitely possible though. It's,
Well, and it's like, for me, I may not want to use the side of the program that's that provides assistance or, the discount. I would pay a premium to have something delivered on occasion.
Yep. Were you guys at all connected with UVER that was in Lebanon? It was a cooperative delivery service. I know it came
Yeah, I heard about
quickly and then
them.
it went quickly.
yeah, I had heard about that.
Yeah, that was a great potential, but I know they had to close.
Yeah, and there's another one that rose up in Vermont but went away quickly. So we're on the lookout. We got our ears open, and it's something that we'd like to tackle when the time's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, any other last minute questions before we close up and let you guys get on with your day? Just know that we do this monthly, same second Thursday of the month at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And our next meeting will be about local SEO, local search engine optimization, and how we can make sure, because it's harder and harder to reach people through social media. So we might have to think about other ways we can rank higher on Google and other search engines. So that's our next topic. But again, know that I'm here. And our presenters are here to answer more questions. So please reach out. This is being recorded, so I'll send out the recording and any kind of resources that have been shared. But just know that we really appreciate you guys spending your an hour of your afternoon with us. And if there are any other topics you want, let us know, because we're here for you.
We really appreciate being here as well. And, please reach out to us. If any of you want to connect after this, we'd love to hear from you. Barbara, please reach out. You have some incredible energy, and I think we have more to talk about.
Cool. Well, thanks to you both for being here, and thanks for everybody else. And we'll be in touch.
Appreciate it. Thank you.